Okay, we're recording. All right. Yeah. So the first so the first Black Dragon Modern Combat, Sifu David Akrish, back again. And I am inside. I'm indoors. 'Cause it's so cold out. I just don't want to be outside. Anyways, even though I'm going to go outside and train. This is going to be, welcome. Hello, everybody. Warrior brothers and sisters, and everyone in between. I am going to start the whole series on, let's see, why train with weapons, and we're going to talk a lot about weapons. So mostly all I've done in the past has been open hand stuff, but which is fine, it's cool. Ending with a tiger, and seems to be a lot of views on that, so kind of cool stuff. I like it. Actually, I'm wearing my tiger top. Mosaic is actually tiger. So, or whatever it is. Is it? Yeah, Mosaics. Yeah. Actually, I used to make the best tennis shoes like years ago. Really light, great running shoes. So, they probably still do. But let's see. Okay, so this is going to be. Oh, I also want to thank the new subscribers. We've hit 70. And that's a pretty big deal to me. That's 70 more than I ever thought was going to happen. So, hey, thank you very much. Many, and I always say this, get a hold of me, comment, you can write me through the website. There's, I'm not hiding, maybe a little bit, but you can get a hold of me anytime. Any questions, if there's content that you would like me to go over, and since I have such a diverse background, and then if there's something I don't know, I'll look into it. I've been looking a lot into red boat Wing Chun, and I have a lot of ideas on that. And I looked at it in the past, but not as much as deep as I am now, because I'm putting so much more time. I don't know how I can put more time into something I'm in 46 years of doing, but more time into just really going so much further with the Wing Chun, but that doesn't mean that I don't also train and look in, my other top, I guess, system you could say, which is Charlie Fight. It's incredible, and I'll talk about that later. But this is about weapons. So I've been. Oh, so anyway, so much of the other videos almost all of it is based really about open hand training and application and all that stuff, but and especially with the Mokjong. But I have just massive amount of weapon knowledge, and that's really what I actually believe in and do so much of, especially in the connecting to civilian close quarter combat, and changing a mindset on how you train, and the difference that a weapon would make for somebody is immense. But I was initially just going to do one part of the intro before we get into the weapon training that I'm going to do. It's Filipino, but it's Chinese. I've done so much that I'm going to kind of, like I said earlier, call it kind of universal. And if you're new to weapon training and you want to incorporate something into for you, as maybe you just don't even train in self-defense or martial arts or anything like that, then it'd be a good start. If you do, but you never really get to do a lot of weapon training, a lot of schools don't have it, or you think the stuff you're doing is kind of archaic, or is, you're carrying on a tradition, but you want something that's more applicable to reality, then that's what I'm going to go over. Again, application, I don't like saying, it goes against my thing about saying this goes for that. So I'm more of going to show the application as a concept of where this weapon would land and what to do. So it's more of, again, training yourself as the weapon, or as the idea or the concept, and then as it applies to whatever it's going to apply to in real life application, then it'll happen when it happens, and you're going to have to kind of think on your own and go, okay, something's coming from the right, I'm going to strike to the right. I mean, you're not going to strike to the left, or maybe you might, but we'll get into that. So that's not really important right now. What I'm doing here is going to break down just the intro. So I'm inside. I'm not going to have any weapons or anything, and it is the hands-on video. is just to talk about, and I'm very opinionated, just like anybody else, and what I always tell people, it's funny, so let me tell this story because it's directly related to what I'm going to talk about here is, I wanted to teach a weapon class. I think I already talked about this, but who cares? I'm going to go over it again. Maybe you're new, you haven't seen it. I don't even remember. So remember, this is raw and unedited. I think about stuff, I write a bit down, I do bullet points, and then I just hit the play button. So I was going to teach a class at the community center here locally, and I wanted to teach kind of the short staff, and so kind of like a walking stick, or it's a short Filipino staff, but it's it's in other styles, and it's just I think it's maybe 4 feet, maybe a little longer. And so, but I thought it'd be very fun. It'd be something for kids, it'd be something for adults. And weapon training is super fun, cool, and it gets people going on things. And it was going to be double-handed training. So it's more like what I like. Another part of the area that I teach is the double-handed weapons, swords and the katana and double Chinese. So anyways, I thought this would be super fun, super cool, especially using the stick and then maybe applying it to a shinai or something. But they said absolutely zero, no weapons. So I'm like, okay, but would you do an open hand class? And I said, sure. And so we had it, but I had to go sit down and talk with these people and do an interview and all that stuff. And what I said is, really, to be honest, because people think weapons are dangerous. Oh, we don't want that. They don't. And even the thought of, I'm not even sure, the thought of a weapon is kind of scary to people. Yet they were completely open to open hand or empty hand training. And I said, just so you know, and I was really upfront and honest, because honesty is the best policy. I said that teaching someone empty hand is way more dangerous than a weapon. And I'm like, well, the reason is, and that's why I'm getting into this, is this section. So there's 2 sections of more why to train with a weapon or weapon training and incorporating it into your training, personal, whatever, curriculum. And then this is more, so that'll be the next one, part 2 of just the intros. But part 1 is what I said is empty hand is actually the most dangerous. Why? Well, one, because this isn't sport. This isn't, I don't even call it martial art, I call it combat. And so one of the reasons is with an empty hand, you have to get very close to a bad person. And so, and maybe you're even less intimidating. So even if I see someone walking, like we see people walking around and they're like with a walking stick, I'm like, he's got a weapon. And it just changes your point of view, your perception, your feelings, that once a weapon's involved, it's a completely different world. Once the weapon's not involved, maybe it's a little less intimidating. Somebody's in the street and they're being a jerk, or there's road rage and they put up their fist and somebody goes, oh, and I pull out a knife. Suddenly the fist kind of doesn't mean that much. And so, but boy, and then even the person doesn't, but the focus is on that, let's just say 8-9 inch blade. And you're like, I'm having a different thought here on this whole situation. And so empty hand, I could say, is the most dangerous of martial art training. I'm doing a lot of air quotes tonight. And so it's just a complete change. So I have a list here of empty hand, and that was my first point, to me is the most dangerous, because you have to get close, you don't have a weapon, and I get into a little bit more about what it is. And so I have versus weapon. To me, it's much more dangerous, and I always say, people say, well, I'm going to learn how to fight. Well, I always say fighting's for kids, and combat is for life and death. And so it's a completely, I'm just using words in my way so I can differentiate between what one thing is and what the other thing is. And so, you're going to Friday night at the fights, it's a boxing match. Most boxers don't die in that. But Friday night at the combats, it's like, It's more like Gladiator. Somebody's going to die. They're in combat, and they're using weapons. So that's interesting. In fact, I think there's Gladiator 2 coming out. I love Gladiator 1. And so, loved it. One of my favorite movies. So, again, so one of my points here is closest. So the empty hand, so it's a lot about empty hand here. Closest, it's a closest proximity. Which is the empty hand versus a weapon. Even any weapon, even a cup. A cup puts something between you and the other person. And so suddenly that's a weapon. And someone swings a cup into your head. It's different than swinging a fist. It just is. It's an object that is usually more dense, and it's going to hurt you, could kill you easily. Easily. The cup could kill you. Could kill somebody. So if they lift their fist, to me it's a threat. If they lift a cup, to me maybe it's more of a threat. Maybe. And remember, the always never thing, I'm sticking to it, but maybe that becomes more of a threat in my mind. Especially maybe in a person's thinking, they're lifting a weapon. It's more like, I'm not fighting. Like I said, I'm combating. I'm going to use this to damage you or kill you. So a weapon's kind of meant to go pretty far. And so it's a different mindset to me when someone pulls, again, someone on either side, the person pulling a weapon is maybe they're saying it's a life and death thing more, instead of like, we're just going to duke it out, I'm going to kick your ass and I'm going to get back in my car and be a big person, whoever it is, man, woman, child, dog, alien, I don't know. So, but when they're pulling the weapon, to me, they're saying is, it's just my theory, and I've talked about before, second a weapon comes out, they're saying, I'm willing to kill you. And the other side of it is you're saying, oh, I might get killed. And so it is a change of atmosphere, it's a change of mentality, it's a change of outlook, intent. It's a pretty big deal. So so the next reason I'm saying that the empty hand is more dangerous, maybe that's the theme of this. I'll see what I'm going to put on title. See, pisses a lot of people off. Might be a good thing. Is possible immediate injury to self, because you're using your body, you're using your hands, whatever it is, and the injury, you're already making a connection with your body to something else. And somebody uses body, whatever it is, something they swing at you. And but with a weapon, it might be a different story. That the book I have in my hand is going to take the brunt of it instead of my breaking my fist. So, and you haven't trained for it, or maybe you do, but you're still not trained enough, or you're not really prepared as you think you are. Whatever it is, just to say the body is going to be injured. You're already putting your body at risk when you don't have anything in between you and the opponent or opponents or bad people. So that's possible. Immediate injury could happen right away. It's not the movies. And so in a lot of schools, this is why I'm pushing the mokjong, and I pushed it before, I push it again over and over and over, is it brings you up some levels of training your body against something real, against a material. And even you're, punching against a pad, a focus mitt. Let me just grab this one over here because I just happen to have it. Is great training, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. It's still soft. And so it's part of my training. Should be part of your training, but it's not the end all, where there's a higher level to me of training and conditioning. And so you may not do that. And even if you do, that doesn't give you the 100% chance of anything, being that you're impervious to injury. So with an empty hand. So there's more of a chance of a better outcome in a life and death situation with a weapon. Let the weapon take the brunt, and then you can take it out to dinner later. So I'm skipping this one, and I had this one before. So I'm kind of covering sort of the same stuff here, but training with a weapon or not training with a weapon, kind of, again, I'm saying the same thing. I didn't realize I'm going over it before I even look at the list, but you're thinking fist fight, I'm just using an example, and not counter weapon striking. there's a huge difference. There is. And if you train with weapons, you know what I'm talking about. And if you train maybe in a Filipino school, a Silat school, an Indonesian school, just a lot of people are now doing that. It's a different world. It just isn't the same. I can tell you. I can promise you. So, so my last point here is going back to if you're not properly trained. I have a whole list here of what happens if you're not doing this or if you're doing it. So let's just say you're not doing these things that I think could be or should be doing if you are properly trained with a weapon. And just because you pick up a weapon in a school doesn't mean you're properly trained with it. So, and the first thing, of course, what am I going to say, is just within yourself of training with the mokjong. And you can hit the mokjong with a weapon. You can use, even if you don't want to damage your mokjong, you can buy these foam sticks, and just to get the idea what it feels like. And let me tell you, it's different striking something with something coming out, with a weapon coming out of your hand, and you go, oh, I can't hold it that way. I mean, there's so many things that looks cool in the air, but it's never you're gonna lose the weapon immediately, or you can feel the repercussion going through your body, through your arm. It's another world. And so, but just even you're not properly trained with the mokjong, and we'll put it in a different way, as an empty hand person, and you don't have enough of what I call pain reality. And so that could be a problem. And so you do all these forms, you hit light pads, maybe you do a light sparring, and you think, yeah, man, I got it. But maybe, I'm just saying maybe you do, maybe you don't. And so I don't think it's enough. I'd rather be overloaded in the combat training area than kind of underloaded and then thinking I have something instead of maybe I possibly do have more behind what I'm doing for reality. And so then I brought this up to pad. Maybe you train like this, or maybe, we do a little bit of that, 5 minutes. It's like, no, it's not enough of pad training or forearm training. And with the forearm guards, which I know everybody knows, maybe some of you are new to self-defense or to combat, close quarter combat, and but so these kind of go together, and forearm pad and then the hand pad. And that still isn't enough to me, but it is a piece of the pie, a big piece. So you got to wonder, are you doing enough? Another is closing, is working on closing, and I have a video on that, on just moving in towards something instead of dancing around, moving backwards, and wasting a lot of energy and time of actually closing in on a problem. So closing is its own world. And so how much are you doing? That's not sparring. Closing is different. And flow drills. So like I just saw a great Sifu, one of my only favorite Sifus, who seems to be the most realistic in many ways, and he was bringing up hubub. And so hubub, lubub, or it's said different ways, but it's like getting into something, getting out of something. It's not weaving, but it's from the Filipino martial arts, and so you might want to look that up. But it's a continuous flow drill that gives you perspective to distance, timing, and angle, and also even hitting a little bit. It's not a lot of hardcore, like a 9-star or 3-star, and like Hungar or Charlie Fut, or even in Wing Chun, there's hand training and certain hits, and I don't see people ever do that, and because it hurts. So that's its own, the flow drill, I guess we could say, is from kind of intense to more sensitivity to structure, to speed, to distance, to timing. Anyways, flow drills. So they're important. They're super important. So are you doing them? It gives you okay, so what I'm saying is if you're empty-handed, you can flow drill with weapons all the time. I mean, that's with or without. But if you're not a weapon person, are you doing flow drills? So that's kind of my question here, is that's what I'm saying, not properly trained under the empty hand. If that's what you want to do, or that's what you're doing, is the training proper? Are you getting everything you need out of it? So another one is, I'm saying here against a full-on attack. So I guess, people say pressure training or whatever, but what I've really kind of left out here is heavy bag training. And heavy bag training, it's another world. And if you're empty-handed, I think you need to put the gloves on or put on some wraps or whatever it is, hit something big and heavy, which is kind of with the Mokjong training, and that's why I have a heavy bag out there, is that, boy, you hit it and go, oh, boy, my wrist is going to break. Boy, my hand hurts. And I did tell the story, but I'll do it again, of the guy who comes over, and I said, don't hit that. And, of course, he disrespected me. He goes, and he goes over there anyways. And I said, it's a very hard bag, and you need to be proper, and he's like telling me, F you. And I'm like, I just met this guy, and I'm like, that was the last time he ever came over. But I'm like, all right, let him hit it, dumbass. And I'm watching him, horrible form, everything, and, everybody knows how to, do combat, whatever. And out of box. And he hits it, and he's like rubbing. I'm just laughing. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to hurt yourself. That's just stupid. That's like going into like some type of place where they manufacture stuff. And I go, oh, that machine over there, let me just go, run something through it, or the bandsaw. And it's like, you don't know what you're doing. You cut your hand off, you're going to crush you're stupid. And so a lot of people are. A lot of people are smart. A lot of people are dumb. So this guy was dumb. So I let him hit it because it was fun to watch. And then I never let him come back to my house again. So that's the way of the world. But it was at least a moment of entertainment, and maybe he learned a lesson. Probably not. So are you just trading for sport training, which is different? Once again, it just is. And I'm just leave that one out there. And then in general, again, these are my same ideas. I go over and over. These are the Mokjong ideas. Is what's your mental intent? So is your mental intent life and death? And remember, I even talked about maybe, if it's not, maybe spend 5 minutes where you think it is, or 10 minutes. So you're changing your pathways, your mind, your neurons, your visualization, your heart, where your spirit, your soul, which is your liver, where different things. You're coming from a different place, and it really does matter. And so, there's in law, and I've talked about this before, intent. What was the intent when someone was choking someone and taking them down? Was it just for fun, or they just wanted to hurt someone, or were they trying to protect the 30 people that maybe some crazy person had a knife and was already killed 3 people? And the intent was, I need to stop this person, or I need to do good, or good Samaritan, or was my intent, I'm just showing off and I'm going to hurt somebody, or I don't know, just intent. What was it's a big word, it's a big deal. So mental intent is going to that place that a lot of people don't want to go to. It's a dark place in a sense, but dark is half of the day, dark and night, and light. So, and dark to me isn't dark. It's just a place you might have to go to. Now, my wife and I talk about all the time with immune. People want to build their immune. The whole COVID BS scare and all that was people freaked out about their immune system, which I thought was a positive side of the COVID thing. And your immune means inside your body, you're killing things. Your body's you would be dead if you didn't have an immune, which is you have a battle zone, you have warriors, you have nasty warrior type cells breaking things down and killing things. So it's just part of life. And maybe someday, and I always say, God forbid, you might have to protect yourself. And it's a crazy place. Look at the world. Just look at the worldwide news. And, America is just, other than, certain things will happen sometimes based on the nutballs, and riots and all that. But, and then there's just bad people just in general, but it's not as bad in some ways, and some parts are, all that. But I'm not, again, I don't want to say this or that, but it just still is, we live in a safer society than most, and we have much more stuff, and so available. But anything can change at any time, and there's never really. It's one of my public safety things about talking about. I came like one place in Seattle where we came from. There's a place, Bellevue, and I always think of Bellevue because people think, "Oh, I'm safe here," and it's really like affluent, and anything can happen at anywhere. They don't tell you, unless maybe you read the police blotter, but you don't still get it all. That just in the parking lot at the Bellevue Mall, you can get stabbed. Anything, you just don't know. That's my big thing. I want to talk about that later, about just predictions. It really bugs the living, just bugs me on this predicting thing. And that's why my attitude is, you train with an open mind and just become as fast, powerful, even mentally trained properly for life, for things that might happen. And instead of trying to predict, I go crazy. I must say, I go absolutely out of my mind. And I watch such hypocrites and people going back and forth on what someone's going to do and what you're going to run into and how, and you don't know. You don't know. I saw something the other day where there was this lady that actually was attacking people, and if you looked at her, you couldn't look at her and go, "Oh, okay, she's gonna attack." You didn't know till it happened. So what's going on inside here or in here, only we know about ourselves sometimes, and then it just goes off, and you always hear the thing about, "Oh, he's such a nice neighbor," the eating people or whatever it is, killing animals and worse. And so you hear it all the time. I know you do. And so what does that tell you? You don't know. I might be living next. I don't know. He's a nice guy. Waves, says hi, and on the way to the, his dump site. So anyways, the last part is in training empty hand. If you're training empty hand, a weapon becomes or is foreign because it is completely different world. And so we don't want that. Just repeat that again. It's a different world. It's different training. It's, angles are angles, speed is speed, timing is timing, but it's not the same. It's not the same. And so this is more of, it kind of goes with the why train with weapons, but it's also, for me, why empty hand can be, and for me, is the most dangerous if you're not training in weapon training. I'm not saying don't train empty. I'm not saying what to do or not to do. Again, that's not this channel. I'm not one of those people saying, "I'm the expert, I know." And I just saw a guy, and I was like, I had to cut off his channel. It's like, you don't know. And because I don't know, and I've been doing this 57 years, you don't know. But what I'm saying is what maybe you might want to do. You might want to do or think about, because that's what this is all about. It's just stimulating the mind, is to think about, what are you doing? What are you not doing? Why is he saying this? Is he full of crap? Is he not? Oh my God, maybe he's right. Maybe he's wrong. But in my eyes, that weapons are very, very important, and almost the thing. Well, and think of it this way. So I'll leave you with this thought. And I thank you. I thank all the new subscribers. I thank everybody who's it's a big, I don't want to sound overly, but I do mean it. It's pretty awesome to me, because like I said, I wasn't ever going to do a channel or do anything, but my wife's like, "Oh my God, you've been doing this forever. You needed to, you've told me stuff my whole life, our relationship, and put it out there. Talk to people, to put your stuff out there." And so, where was I going with it? It's that how important, I don't know, I just lost what I was talking about, but how important, I will just say that it's a different world, how important it is, and this is what I was thinking about. It seems to come back to me pretty quick when it travels out one way, but it comes back out the other. It's almost be circular. Is that if you were in a life and death situation, so just think about this. Now, if you're in a life and death situation, would you rather have a weapon in your hand, Or would you go, nah, I want to test whatever it is. I want to test it. There's a incredible, perfect club there, and a stick or whatever it is, a knife, whatever. But I don't want that. I'm leaving that there because I want to. It's my family's life, my life of people around me, my friends, and heck, I got to prove that my empty hand training is better than me picking up a weapon and warding somebody off or doing whatever you're going to do, and using it as an involvement into a really horrible situation. Would you do that, or would you go? I once had an argument with a guy. Not an argument. He's a really nice guy, but I used my logical brain, and he says, "I hate guns. I have guns. And he's a really sweet guy, and he had a very, very kind wife, very sweet wife. He's totally in love with. Very nice people. And his name was Perry. He's probably never going to see this. So I said, Perry, I understand where you're coming from to some degree. But I said, and I did this kind of scenario thing, this kind of crappy thing. But I said, let's say someone comes in your house, overtakes your house, they're really, 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 really demonic people. They tie you up, and they're going to really do bad stuff to your wife. And unthinkable. And there's a gun right by you, and your hand gets loose. Would you pick that thing that you hate with all your might and gut and your hippie values? I'm a hippie, but your hippie values in the sense of, ping pong, not war. And would you pick that up? And would you even aim it at the person or even use it because it was getting to the point of unbelievable pain and torture and just horridness? And I looked at Perry, and he goes, yeah, I would. I said, of course you would. Because it's human nature. It's human nature that you're going to protect your family. You're going to do whatever you damn well can to do what you have to do and pay the consequences later, in a sense of your consciousness or your heart or your religion, your spirit, whatever it is. But I knew I could get him there because that's an easy scenario. It's the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever, the darkest thing ever. And so you're going to do it. You're going to pick it up. And so that's kind of what this is about, is like it's a dark place. Like I said, dark maybe isn't that bad because we have to learn how to protect ourselves. And it's okay. And it's even fun. Stick, if you ever did collie stuff, it's fun. You could like train for hours. And so, and you just get into it. You don't always have to think, I'm killing someone. Come on. You would become just as insane. But martial arts is based on martial art, and which comes from, we're going to do a video on Mars, okay? The planet of war, the warrior planet, Ares. And so I can't wait to do that with my wife. She's right over there. And so it's just part of who we are. It's part of our nature. Why do people watch these movies? Why do all these hypocrites use guns in these movies and make all this money, and then they tell you not to have one? Or they're guarded by people with guns, but they tell you can't. I'm not pro-gun or anything like that. Okay, so I'm pro-protect yourself. And actually, one of my favorite weapons is like a telescoping baton. I think everybody should have one. And I even talked to this guy at the dog park. And you go to those dog parks, you let your dogs go loose, and they go crazy, and they're happy. And there was a guy that was there for a while. He says, I always carry a knife. And here, a lot of people carry knives. It's a very knife culture here in New Mexico. And so, maybe other places too, but it definitely is here. Anyways, he says, but he was a traveling guy, so traveling nurse. So I always carry a knife. I said, yeah, that's cool. I go, but maybe you don't want to go that far, or maybe you want a little diversity, and so I showed him like a little mini telescoping baton. I have one here, but let me grab it. Let me see if I can grab it out of my man purse. And I said, but learn how to use it. Watch some videos. I told him a good station, channel. Let me see if I can find it. And it's just a small one, so it's a shorter one. Oh, I found it. So very cool. And a friend of mine showed me one of these like years ago when I started doing Filipino martial arts. Like, God, I was like 18 or 17. So I was like 3 years ago. Anyways, he pulled one of these out and he clicked it out. And I went, "Aye." He goes, "This is the bone crusher." Oh, no, he said, "Do you want to see the bone crusher?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So he's one of my favorite Sifus. And who introduced me to a few things, to the Wing Chun, of course, non-classical, and then to Filipino sticks, and then to Muay Thai kicks. We called it the fire. And so the kicks. But he showed me, and I've never really seen one in that close up or whatever. And I thought, this thing's wicked. It's deadly. This will do the job. And maybe to a lesser extent, maybe if you have control, you don't have to really hurt somebody. Maybe it's enough to do just a bit of damage, and the person goes, maybe I don't need to go any further against someone. So against you or against, because this could just be enough. So I like tactical flashlights, but we're gonna get into that later. But anyways. So this is kind of the idea of where I'm leading to doing the other training that I'm going to put out there. But they have one of these. This is just, they won't sell them on Amazon, by the way. So they'll sell the case. I read where someone bought the case, they thought they were buying this. And so there's a company, I think it's called ASP, and very famous. And they sell them. They're a little, they could be pricey, but so what? I mean, people waste money on all kinds of crap. So whenever I hear about money, I go, nah, just don't do one thing and then you can buy one. So you can buy like a shorter one. I think it's like $40 or $30, but it's really high quality. That's not what this is. This is when you could buy them online. And you still can different places, but Amazon won't sell these. I don't think eBay will either. But to me, this is a great equalizer. So if you had a chance and it's sitting there, would you pick it up in life and death? Of course you would. Why would you do that and go, no, there's no need. That's my point on this. No, I am a 3rd degree black belt and this and that or whatever. Why would I pick that up? Because I'm already pre-trained. I already got everything I need. I don't think so. I think you would think twice. I think a person would think twice or once. They wouldn't think twice. They would just think once and go, ooh, look at that pretty telescoping baston. Oh, this could help a lot. So anyways, kind of funning around here, but that's my thoughts. Anyways, going back to the beginning of the story, they said, no, we're going to do an empty hand. I'm like, fine, whatever, because I want to teach. I want to help people. It was a free class. It was offered to the public. And so anyways, but now I'm coming back and I'm I'm actually going to teach Wing Chun at the community center. But I think, because I caught them on something where they were having a Japanese class, it's a sword drawing class, and I thought, whoa, you have weapons in there. How come you denied me? They didn't really answer me on that, but I asked if I can at least use the foam. They said, well, they're not real weapons. I go, well, maybe the stick was a real weapon in their mind. It is. I just thought of that, so they're off the hook. But they said, so training weapon. So I thought, well, there's these foam, and they actually look like they're nicer than the old ones that you could buy years ago. And so I'm going to, and maybe for you may want to train with a foam stick. When I show you with the collie stick, that just to feel safer, just to feel better, because there's all these different levels. I'm going to talk about, which would be the third video. So I'm going to have another video about intro, then there'll be the third one, more about weapons and the different levels of training with weapons, which is pretty intense. And then we'll get into the actual training and kind of a semi-lesson, you could say, or with semi-application. No, but just ideas. We'll talk about concepts and ideas. But there are training modules that you can use, especially if you don't do any of this. So I'm going to show you, and it'll be fun. So there you go. So anyways, I did it. I finally hit the 40-minute mark. I've been working hard at it. That's the video of the night. So I'm gonna get back to my training, and then I will be back with part 2 of the intro to why I train with weapons. And maybe this will be subtitled "Empty Hand Most Dangerous" or something like that. We'll figure it out. Okay. So anyways, have a nice evening. Like, subscribe, this, that, whatever. And then send me any questions or any. I might ask a question. God, I hope somebody answers. I know I sound just like a baby. Like nobody talks to me. Nobody. Yeah. So I am saying I don't care. But anyways, comment on something. Tell me something. Tell me what you think. And do you train? What do you train in? What system do you train in? How much time do you put in? Anything like that. Maybe I'll put a question out there and hopefully someone looks at it and goes, oh, there's a question. I see a lot of people do that. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'm going to ask a question. So anyways, nice evening and take care, and I will be back.